Where the music never dies is where my heart is. Hi, I am Karen Hale, and this podcast is based on the stories of my brother, Joel Moss. In September of last year, Joel suddenly passed away, but with him, there was a whole history of life. He was living in Saratoga Springs at the time, and the city did mourn. But Joel came from Detroit, Michigan, and from Detroit, he lived in Minnesota, and from Minnesota, he lived in California, and from California, he spent the rest of his life in Saratoga Springs, New York, where the music never dies. He met some wonderful people along the way, and two of them are with us today, Jonathan and Annie Rosen. And, you know, I remember meeting the two of you probably about 15 years ago. I was having breakfast in Uncommon Grounds, and you walked in, and Joel said, "Please sit down. This is my sister." And next thing I know, the three of you were talking music, which was over my head, but still very interesting. So tell me about your relationship with Joel, because I know my relationship with him as a sister.
So, the first introduction to Joel, we have the band Annie and the Hedonists, and Peter Davis, a multi instrumentalist, part of our band, had breakfast with Joel, and he told us there's this guy who's won 6 or 7 Grammys and has recorded all these famous artists and is this incredible talent that's in Saratoga Springs now, and he's working with local area musicians, and I'm going to have breakfast or lunch, I don't remember, with him. And they met and hit it off, and at the time we were working on planning our second recording, and so Peter was kind of exploring if Joel wanted to record, produce, engineer, master. He does it all, and he did. And at the time, he was working with the wonderful, marvelous Charlie Ebby, and that's where we did the recording in a beautiful studio that was connected to Charlie's house. And Joel had an incredible relationship with Charlie. And Charlie was a very loving person as well. And that was our first experience.
Yeah. And it was wonderful. I mean, he was so warm and laid back and really wanted to know what you wanted. It wasn't all like, oh, I want you guys to do this and this and that. And he loved us, and he loved our music, and he just made you feel wonderful. I mean, alive, and like you were really something special. He made everybody feel like they were great, great musicians. I mean, he would have his ideas. It wasn't like do whatever you want to do, but he had some wonderful ideas, but he also wanted to know what you thought, which I thought was really amazing.
Well, he also contributed to the music, ideas about beginnings and endings and harmonies and arrangements, and that that made him part of the band in a way, which was really great to have his musical contribution and not just engineering and producing.
I mean, it's interesting. He really did not have an ego like so many people coming from California in New York City in the music industry. And one of the things that I always appreciated was when I sat in the studio and watched him, it was really about the artist. It wasn't about what he was doing. He knew that what he could add to it. Right. But if you as the artist didn't like his ideas, he was willing to take a step back and go, okay, this is your music. Did you feel intimidated in the beginning? I mean, this is what I've heard from so many people. Well, Joel came to Saratoga Springs and he had all these awards and, oh, he was a big shot. He didn't think of himself that way. So how did musicians feel working with him?
Well, he didn't come across as, well, wow, look at all the awards. I mean, he was not a show off at all. In fact, I mean, I didn't feel intimidated at all. I mean, I felt very comfortable with them. My whole family did. My daughter absolutely loved him. In fact, he did the ceremony for my daughter's wedding, Hannah, which was amazing. And everybody fell in love with him, all my relatives. And one of our relatives knew him from California through
Okay.
school. I guess their kids went to school together.
Daycare or school.
Daycare, or it was some kind of
My
school.
cousin Carol.
And so that was a great connection. And it was, he was just, and I loved how he would really get into politics. I mean, he really he was really into it,
Yes.
And I don't know, I loved him.
But he, I would say his love was for the music. So I don't think he differentiated between recording Ray Charles and recording a local artist in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, he got excited over everyone that he was recording. I mean, he would say, oh, you got to listen to this young woman. Oh, you got to listen to, I mean, he was like always so excited. I mean, that's one thing that I think is so important. If you're going to be doing this business, is to have that excitement and that love and that thrill of what you're doing. And he had that.
And, his knowledge and professionalism, I think brought out the best in all the local artists that he worked with. And, truthfully, their abilities and talents were wide-ranging. But I don't think he cared about that so much. What he was trying to do is to encourage people because of his love for music combined with his love for people. Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty magical combination because most people, I think, that had achieved his level of fame in that field would feel like, oh, this is beneath me, to go into the, music ghetto of local independent musicians,
right,
and record them. But, truthfully, full-time independent musicians, I mean, they spend their whole lives on their craft. And maybe the big difference between them and the people that are making a lot of money is luck or, some connection that they had. I mean, the local full-time independent musicians we play with and know are incredible talents. And I think he recognized that and he wanted to nurture that.
Well, and I know it was so important to him bringing in the recording to Cafe Lena because he wanted your talents to be seen outside of 100, person venue. And it's happening because people all around the world are watching the artists at Cafe Lena. And that's why I really knew that it was his love of music. Mm-hmm. And he believed in what he once called raw talent. He said, you go out to California and people are honed to sound a certain way. He said, but you come to Cafe Lena and we hear the real music. And that's one of the things that I love about coming in there is that I may not normally listen to your music on Spotify or something, but I come into that room and your music is immense. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that his accolades didn't mean much to you other than you were obviously, we all get impressed by awards. But it's funny that as his sister, I didn't even have any idea how many times he was up for an award or even won an award. The first time I came to visit him in Saratoga Springs, I saw his Grammy there from the Ray Charles album. And I said, what is that? He goes, oh, yeah, I won that. It was it. No big deal. Now, of course, I had heard the album and had no idea that he had actually won it. So he didn't even share with his family.
I don't even remember him talking to me about the Grammys. He did, when we asked him, talk about a lot of the famous people that he recorded, and he told us some wild stories about some of the people, bizarre behaviors of some of these spoiled, stars that he worked with. Terrible things that they did.
Yeah.
But that was sitting at dinner. We would go quite often to Mamma Mia's restaurant in Saratoga, his favorite,
yep.
Right?
His favorite, yeah.
In fact, we had a dinner there for one of our kids' marriages. I think we had our rehearsal. He and Terry Lynn introduced us to that place. But that was the other thing about Joel that makes him, really unique. He had I never talked to him that he didn't say, when are we going to get together for lunch or dinner? I mean, it was just his nature to be social.
Well, we even had, for a while, we had a little bowling group that we would meet up in, and we would laugh our heads off at, all these antics, and it was just such a fun time just to hang out and bowl.
I didn't even know my brother bowled. So, hey, I'm learning something new today.
Yeah. Well, Rick Bolton and Sharon and Steve Canlon, and who else was involved in that? Peter Davis and Beth.
No, Peter didn't go.
No, Peter didn't go?
No.
Okay. I remember Steve Canlon got a bowling shirt.
And the first time he bowled, he was terrible. By the time we were done, he practiced a lot. I think that's what he does, But we would just, laugh and just, hang out.
And the thing is, Joel worked so hard, so many hours, and the culture today, people are, there's a lot of workaholism, and people don't have time to get together for dinner or to go bowling. But Joel really fought that. I mean, he worked his ass off, but he also really wanted to have close relationships with everybody that he was involved with. Unique. If you really look at what's going on in our country today, there's a breakdown of that type of social cohesion. Mm-hmm. And it's really associated with mental problems and addiction. And, Joel just, he was the opposite of that.
Well, I will tell you, has been a great role model for me. Because about 15 years ago, I was going through a deep depression, and he called me up one day and he said, you have a choice. You can either stay in bed and cry, or you can go out and make one new friend today. And my comment was, where am I going to do that? He said, I don't care. Get in the car, go down to the local coffee shop, go to the gas station, say hello to one person today. I thought he was being funny about it, but I didn't. And what a difference it made. When I said hello to that first person, they looked at me like, hello? And then I wanted to say hello to the next person. And so I realized that my brother was leaving me a legacy way before he ever passed away. And that was go out and make friends. And so grateful for that. And all the people that I met in Saratoga, I mean, I just love it. And the celebration of life for him proved that those people are his friends. They weren't just people that he worked with.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And one other thing I want to bring up is the last album that we did with him live at Cafe Lena. For me, was very special in a number of ways. First of all, performing live, there's a spontaneity among the musicians. Annie she plays to the audience. She gets excited. There's humor. And, we play at Cafe Lena twice a year usually, and we were able to sift through 4 years of recordings, come up with the top 11 tunes, and he mixed and mastered them. And I was the primary person working with him on that, which was really fun for me because the other ones were all studio albums, and there was a lot of guest artists and doing this and that. But that album, I mean,
that's my favorite album. Is the last one that he did. I mean, it's perfect.
And every time we would play in Lena's, I mean, the first thing we would do is go in the back room, with Troll Joel, and get a bunch of hugs and high five.
How's Hannah? How's the kids?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I really miss that, and I mean, and the first few times going into Cafe Lena was really eerie, and it just didn't feel right,
But his energy is still there, and he's passed it on, and that I think is what is so important, because it's his energy that helps me on a daily basis. I know when I came in for the celebration of life, as exciting as it was, I knew something was missing, and that was this personal dialogue. I didn't need to know Joel, the award winner. I wanted to know Joel who went bowling, Joel who would sit at dinner and tell stories and people would sit and laugh. That's the brother. And that's the person that I want his grandkids to remember, because they just keep hearing about, my papa won awards, but papa was a person. And
right.
You're right. When it came to world issues, he definitely had his feelings, and he never held them back.
No.
No, and we felt connected there too, because we're, left wing, and we believe in peace and against racism, and we believe in immigrants and refugees, and I've been working for labor unions most of my life, and we go to protests, but Joel he had so much energy in his passion around.
He was very eloquent.
Injustice.
I mean, he got right to the meat of it.
Well, and for a while he had that column that he was publishing online. Which,
well, he gave up writing his blog because I think it just took too much energy and too much negativity, as he kept saying that he had to turn that around. And for his sake, I'm sort of glad he did. Yeah. And for his sake, I'm glad he's not around right now to see what's going on in this world, because it's not where any of us really want to be. So is there one song in particular that you worked on with him that you think, is your favorite song?
Oh, gosh. That's a tough question.
I mean, one thing, he did write some songs that we recorded, usually in collaboration with Peter Davis, although Annie and I worked with him a little on some new lyrics for The Panic Is On, which is, we updated it to today. That's a Depression era song from 1929 by Hezekiah Jenkins. And we put, current words, about what you should be panicking about into it. But he wrote, he and Peter Davis wrote Bring It On Home to Mama, which, the title of the album was Bring It On Home. And I know he and Peter wrote a bunch of songs together. And, but I don't think there's one song that I can point to. I mean,
okay, that's fair.
I think his ability, people say, oh, anybody can record nowadays, and a lot of bands have their own equipment and do it in their basement or what have you. But my feeling is he brought it to a whole different level with his expertise and his ideas, and so I mean, that's what I believe, and I think that's irreplaceable. I don't know what we're going to do without him, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm just used to working with him, and it's so easy, and yeah.
Well, I know he shared his knowledge with a lot of people out there, and hopefully they can carry on some of his legacy as well. I know his grandson has an interest in music, so we'll see what he does with it. I know we've been encouraging him from a distance, saying, just keep working at it. Joel was totally self-learned. My parents did not provide us with music lessons, although there was music in the house. My father loved to sing. I won't say that he had the best vocals in the world, but it didn't bother him. Joel taught himself.
It bothered you?
Yeah. Joel taught himself how to play the accordion, the trumpet, the clarinet, the guitar, the banjo. And my other brother and I don't think we ever picked up an instrument because Joel could do it all. Why should we? But there was no jealousy because he was good at what he did and he entertained us. And then when he started doing recording, again, he listened to what other people were doing. He tweaked it, taught himself how to move forward. And I think that's why he was good with individuals like yourself, because he knew that he had to learn it on his own. So he was going to learn along with you.
Now, did you hear the stories about the jobs that he did for some very wealthy guy who was in Chicago? He's since deceased. You heard those stories?
Yes.
And I think he involved Rick Bolton in doing some of the
music
preparation for that. Well, they created some box or something. I forget the details.
He created music boxes. So everyone who came to his events got a music box. Yeah.
But, he hired really famous people.
Yes.
Elton John and Aretha Franklin and various people, for those.
And yet that's not something Joel really bragged about, Yeah, you'd know that he went, but it wasn't, oh yeah, Elton John was there. Like, okay. I'll never forget the first time I went out to California to visit him. My husband and I went out to lunch with him. And the first thing he said to us was, there will be famous people here. Do not say anything. Do not act excited. They are just people. I said, okay. So we're sitting at lunch and everything is going fine. And after lunch, he says to my husband, are you dead? My husband goes, what are you talking about? He said, do you know who was sitting next to you? And he goes, no. He said, that was Carol Alt, the most famous model. And my husband looked over. He said, no, don't look. Don't look. So we get out to the car and he yelled at my husband. He said, you didn't even appreciate how beautiful she was. He said, you told me not to look, that she was just going to be another person. So,
that's funny.
Yeah.
And I can hear his voice. Are you dead?
Yeah.
Because he was very good with the sarcasm.
Yes, he definitely was. And, after that, we never knew how to react. It was like, can we get excited or not? But I chose not to because I didn't want to embarrass my brother.
My regret, just the many times that he said, let's get together for dinner or lunch at the end of our calls. And I didn't follow through on it because I was too fucking busy. I regret that, that's, what a shock, that his passing, and what a loss,
Well, one of the things I've learned, especially this year, is we can't live with regrets. And, I lost Joel in September, my husband in January, and part of me has said, oh, I wish I had done X. And I realized I did a lot of X's. and I gotta live with that. I gotta live with all the good things that happen. Um, you know, my husband and I, we were going to come visit Joel in October. That was our plan.
Mm.
And, you know, obviously, we were there in October for the celebration, but obviously not to spend with Joel. Life goes on, and we have to keep the music going, keep his memory going, and telling the good stories, real stories. And I think that's important.
And
I agree.
You hear from Terry Lynn? How's she doing?
She's taken it day by day. It's been difficult for her, very difficult for his daughter and grandchildren as well, because they moved up here to be near him. Right. And so I'm staying pretty close to them, and I'm hoping to be up there this summer for a week or two to just take it all in and go to places that Joel went to and feel his energy, listen to the music, and keep it going.
One other thing I remember, Joel called me because he knew that our grandson was struggling with mental health issues in school, and his grandson was having problems. So he wanted to learn from what we went through, and so that was connection there. Yeah.
Joel had the biggest heart. My youngest son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum, and Joel was the first one in the whole family that really said, he may be on the spectrum, but we're not going to treat him any differently. And he supported him so much, to the point that Alex is now going to record the last song that he and Joel put together, because it means so much to him. So he will be up in Saratoga here, hopefully in the next month or so, and getting it recorded, getting it out there, and hopefully making a difference for the midterm elections. So see what that does.
Excellent.
And we just worked up All You Fascists Bound to Lose with the new words by Bette Midler. Have you heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Joel would have loved that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for joining me. Welcome back again from Arizona. It sounded like you had a phenomenal trip out there with a lot of hiking in the desert. And now you're back in New York, and the weather's getting nice. When do you perform again at Cafe Lena? Coming up soon?
June, I think it's the 14th.
Okay. Well, we'll have to make sure that we publicize that, because we want everybody to come out and see you.
I can verify that real quick.
Well, it was wonderful to be able to do this.
Very good. I just appreciate it. Okay. We'll make sure it is posted, and people, if you can't get to Cafe Lena, you can always go online and listen to it live as it streams.
Yeah,
have a wonderful day.
And sorry about all the false starts.
Hey, that's okay. We made it. Okay, that's what's important. Yes. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks. You too.
Bye now.